Alright, so I'm feeling generous just because I want to take the time and appreciate those of you that did the homework right the first time around and didn't use those apps or anything else. And also to thank those of you that actually resubmitted the stuff the right way, even though it was more work. Because you should have done it right the first time. Just saying. Anyways, I'm going to go ahead and do a couple of more examples than I did last time for your homework and your notes, just to kind of help you guys out, because this week does have a little bit more work than you did last week, and I kind of felt bad, so I figured I'll do some more examples than I did last time for both the homework and the notes, so that it'll kind of still cut your work in half a little bit. Alright, let's go ahead and take a look at number 2. I'll do that one with you. Seems like it has a little bit more work than the other ones. Okay, so let's go ahead and do this. So 24 times 12, that's going to give me 288. M to the first power times M to the third power. Remember, that's product rule. So I'm going to get M to the fourth power, and then N to the fourth power again. Then I'm going to get 288 at the bottom. I'm going to be left with M to the sixth power and N to the fourth power. Now looking at this, you want to go ahead and simplify stuff that you can get rid of, cancel out some stuff using the exponent rules that we went over the first few weeks when we started this. So if you look at the 28 and the 28, that simplifies to a 1 basically. So we're left with M to the fourth, N to the fourth, and then M to the sixth and N to the fourth. Now the exponent that is larger, that's where you look at. So the N to the fourth and N to the fourth, again, that cancels out. We're left with just 1. So in reality, everything at the top is just 1, because then you're going to do the M to the sixth power minus 4, which will end up being M to the second power, and then you're done. Okay. Some of you were making up your own, I don't know what you were doing, to be honest, but you were making up your own method that does not even exist. Please make sure you are using these videos, and if you have a question, you can message me, you can text me on Remind. You can just do something to reach out to me, and don't make up your own methods and make up your own answers and expect me not to notice. Anyways, let's go ahead and move on to the next one. Number 1 and 3 are fairly easy. These are monomials. I'm going to go more over like the binomial and the trinomial. So if you look at number 4, you have a binomial for all of them. 5 turns into binomials and trinomials. I'll do 4 and 5 to kind of do some of the easier or medium examples to a little bit more of the difficult examples. So for number 4, you're left with 2n minus 8 at the top. You're going to have to figure out, is there something that you can factor out of GCF, anything that you can take out? So I'm going to be left with 2 at the outside, n minus 4 for the top one, n plus 2, nothing happens to that, you have to leave it alone. Factor out a 3 at the top for the other binomial, n plus 2 again, and then you're left with n minus 4. So notice how from this one, there's a couple of stuff that you can actually cancel out. N minus 4, n minus 4, n plus 2, n plus 2. You're left with just 6, because it's 2 times the 3. Let's take a look at number 5. So again, this is a trinomial. You should be able to factor these. Do not use those math app methods that you've been using for even these simple ones, because it's really easy for me to tell, guys. So I'm just saying. So I'm going to be left with 1 and 8 for the factors. Now this one is a perfect square minus a perfect square. So I'm going to be left with 2y minus 3, 2y plus 3 for the bottom, times 2y minus 3, because I can't do anything to that anymore. And now from here, you can actually cancel stuff out. Y plus 1, y plus 1. 2y minus 3, 2y minus 3. We're left with y plus 8 at the top, 2y plus 3 at the bottom. Okay, let's go ahead and move on. I'm going to go ahead and do number 8. Number 8 has a lot going on. You got some trinomials and some of the methods that a lot of you were skipping over on the homework last week that you actually had to resubmit. Don't know what method you were using. I mean, I do know, I don't know why you were using that. So now let's go ahead and take a look at number 8. So for this one, you're going to be left with x plus 2 and x plus 4. Okay, so that one's pretty easy to factor. There really isn't much work to do. But as you get to the next ones, notice how the a here is equal to 1. That's why I was able to factor this quickly. Now over here, the a is greater than 1, and you actually can't take out anything to make this 2 into a 1. So I'll come back to this one. Same with this one. A is greater than 1. You can't factor anything out to make that 2 into a 1. So I'm going to go ahead and move on to this one to see if that one's easy. X squared minus 3x plus 2. Your A is equal to 1 here, which means that that can be one of those easy ways to factor. So x minus 1 and x, what do we have? Minus 2. Now I'm going to go ahead and do the other ones that I skipped over because they require fractions. So this is the one where you have to multiply and get the fraction form. So I'm left with x squared plus 9x plus 8. You're going to go ahead and factor this, x plus 1, x plus 8. But remember, because you multiplied by that 2, you're going to have to divide by that 2. You're left with 2x plus 1 for the first one and then x plus 4 here. So I'm going to rewrite that. And then for the next one, again, you're going to have to multiply those two. You're left with x squared minus x minus 2. You're going to have to factor these. So x minus 1, minus 2. And then x plus 1. But again, because you multiplied by the 2, you're going to have to divide by the 2. So you're left with x minus 1 and then 2x plus 1 here. This is where you guys were using apps. Do not use those apps. You need to use my methods. Otherwise, you are getting a 0 for that. There is no resubmission for this week. I'm going to go ahead and cancel out what is going to be the same. So 2x plus 1, x plus 4, x plus 4, x minus 1, x minus 1. You're left with x plus 2 and then x minus 2 for the bottom. And then you're done. So let's move on. And I am giving you the answers. Okay, so there should be no excuse for those of you that keep getting some of these wrong. Alright, I'm going to help you get started on 10, but I'm not going to finish 10. Alright, let's look at 10. So at the top, you have a perfect square minus a perfect square. So n minus 1 and then n plus 1. Please factor the bottom on your own. And then at the top, you have a perfect square minus a perfect square, n minus 5 and then n plus 5. Please factor the bottom on your own and cancel out whatever is going to cancel out. Let's take a look at 11. I will do 11 with you. So let's factor out a 3. Even though p and r are not the same variable, you can still take out a 3. So you're left with p minus r inside 20 p squared r squared. There's nothing you can do to that. There's nothing you can do to 10pr. However, this is a perfect square minus a perfect square, so I can still do something with that. These cancel out. The 10 cancels out to a 1. The 20 cancels out to a 2. So now I'm left with 6pr squared. P squared r squared all over. We're left with p r and then p plus r. So you're going to do quotient rule here. You're going to subtract them. So you're going to be left with 6pr because these will cancel out. And then you're left with p plus r. Alright, let's go ahead and move on. Alright, I'm going to do, trying to see, I'll do 12 because I think, actually no, 12 has fractions. I want you to try some on your own. I will do 13. So, alright, so let's go ahead and factor the top. We're going to be left with v minus 7 and v plus 3. We're going to factor out a 3v at the bottom. Then we're going to multiply that and then factor out a v. Then we're going to go ahead and factor out the bottom since that's a trinomial. We're going to be left with 6 plus 8. And then, v plus 8 and v plus 3. We're going to go ahead and cancel out the stuff that we can cancel. So I'm going to be left with v minus 7 and then 3 times v plus 2. And then that's your answer. Okay, let's move on. I'll help you get started on 14 and then I'll do 15. Okay, so you can't do anything for x plus 7 or x cubed. However, you can factor out an x here, figure out what else left over, and you can factor these. Okay, so go ahead and keep going from there. Let's look at 15, because I'll do 15 with you. 2n minus 3. There's nothing you can do. You can't factor, you can't take out a GCF, there's nothing you can do. Now the 10n squared minus 17n plus 3, there's no GCF. The a is greater than 1 again. That's going to be where you're going to have to multiply that 10 times the 3 again. We're going to be left with n squared minus 17n plus 30. Okay, and now from here, you need to figure out, okay, what times what is going to give me 30. And also negative 17 when you add it. So I'm going to be left with n minus 2 and n minus 15. But because I multiplied by the 10, I'm going to have to divide by the 10. Now, this is where it's a little bit different because the 2 over 10 does not give you a nice number. However, it does simplify. You have to simplify it first before you start trying to get rid of that fraction. Okay, so this is me simplifying it, and now I'm going to go ahead and get rid of that fraction. So 2n minus 3. I need to see all of this work. Please do not just go ahead and write it, and for the other ones, if there's another one like this, you need to show everything. Sorry. Alright, so the next one, 15n cubed minus 3n squared. You can take out a 3n squared. We're left with 5n minus 1. Then we have a 6n, n minus 1. Now you can go ahead and try and cancel stuff out. And that's what I'm doing right now. Change the color. These subtract here. So n squared minus n is going to give you just 1n. So I'm left with n, whoops, at the top. And then 2 times n minus 1. Because remember, these are going to subtract here. So it stays at the top. And that's your answer. Alright. Let's take a look at the next one. Alright, so now let's take a look at 16. I need to figure out what goes here so that when I actually do multiply these, I'm going to end up with p plus 6 over p minus 7. So, first what I'm going to do is I'm going to go ahead and factor these. Okay. Alright, at the bottom, we're going to be left with, and then p plus 4. For the bottom, p plus 8 and p minus 7. Now remember, all of this has to equal p plus 6 and p minus 7. Now, this right here is my answer, okay? Now, what I need you guys to do is, at the end, I need to be left with p plus 6. I need to be left with p minus 7. Right now, p plus 4 and p plus 4 cancel. I need to find a way to get p minus 8 and p plus 8 to cancel. So, that means that I need to have p plus 8 and p minus 8 here. Now, in order to find out what they were before that, I would FOIL them. Okay? So, p squared minus 8p plus 8p minus 64. That is how I end up with this. Basically, you're working backwards. Okay? So now, you have the answer for 17, but I need all of this work here. Do not just go write this and say, well, it's this because that. No, I need to see this work here of you working backwards. Okay? I don't want to just, otherwise I'm going to stop giving answers to you guys. Also, stop giving me the wrong answers. Again, I will stop providing an answer key to those of you that are not looking for the key and then submitting something completely wrong and then you have to redo it again. So stop. All right. I did a lot of the questions for you. Even though it's 17 questions, technically I didn't even count the first 3 because those were monomials and those are super easy. So in my head, it was like you only had maybe 14 questions. And I believe I did more than, either I did 7 or I did more than 7. I can't remember. So I didn't do that many on this one anyways because this is your homework anyways. I'll do a little bit more for the division problems for the next set of notes.